They're elite, they're American heroes, they're G.I. Joe. And in this video, I'm going over the G.I. Joe Special Missions comic, all the covers from the original Marvel comic series. Here we go. Thanks for checking out the video. My name is Bernie Gonzalez, and I am a comic book writer and artist. And in these videos, I like to go over some of the books, graphic novels, art books that inspired my artwork, my storytelling. And in this video, I'm going to go over G.I. Joe Special Missions. So if you grew up in the 80s like I did, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Silverhawks, Thundercats were all great. G.I. Joe and the Mount Rushmore of cartoons. It's up there. From 1982 to 1984, Marvel released 155 issues of the comic book series. It was essentially, it was promoted by TV commercials, which is very unique, considering that you don't really see commercials now for comic book series. And it was all in the service of selling more toys, and that's what the animated series was for too. It's basically a 30-minute commercial for the toys. What was different in the comic book series versus the cartoon, it was more serious, and a lot of that's due to the credit of Larry Hama, who added realism, seriousness that was absent from the animated series. They used real guns rather than laser rifles. Scarlet and Snake Eyes had a romance. Characters like Stalker had more of a spotlight than they did in the cartoon. And I wanted to go over Special Missions because in the case of the series, it was so successful that it launched a second series called Special Missions. G.I. Joe Special Missions ran from 1986 to 1989. It was introduced in this issue of G.I. Joe number 50 with a short story at the end called Best Defense. And from this, you started to get now what we know as G.I. Joe Special Missions. So I wanted to go through some of these just on the covers. G.I. Joe was very influential to me as a kid and now as a creator. When I look back at it, I look back at it very fondly and with a lot of nostalgia. Love how they set everything up, but at least for the cartoon, I always appreciated that you got this really cool story told in 22 minutes, action, adventure. It was a lot of fun. And in the comics, although they were more realistic, it felt like a continuation of some of those animated adventures. And in this case, it's literally a continuation of the continuation. If you've got the Marvel series that ran for 155 issues, expanding on the cartoon, Special Missions was an expansion of that series. So start with issue number 1 here. Special Missions, first issue in the new series. Got Wetsuit, pretty sure that's Torpedo. Mike Zeck cover, just great composition, a lot of action. Issue number 2. Got Roadblock. Looks like it could be Wild Bill, but it could also be Rakondo, who is the jungle guy. And looks like maybe Rock and Roll, but he doesn't have the blonde, so could be either way. But just cool cover. Lots of action, lots of explosions. You really didn't see things like this in the cartoon because they were shooting lasers. Here, they're shooting real bullets. There's real recoil. Love the action. Don't know what they're shooting at off screen, but man, things are going nuts. There's even a body flying in the background over there. Wow. Number 3, not nearly as dramatic as the cover for issue number 2, but still, get Stalker. Looks like Gung Ho, and they're in a van. Number 4, Lifeline, and if I remember right, that's the October Guard, which is the Soviet Union version of G.I. Joe, their special missions team. And, in a case like this, love the composition. If you're trying to snag a reader from who's looking at the newsstand, great composition to just make you wonder what's going to happen in this issue. Is Lifeline going to make it? Are they going to discover him? Just a cool cover. Issue 5, that's the Night Raven. It was the Strato Viper who was the pilot. You've got Ace and the Sky Striker there. Again, just cool composition, a lot of action. You want to find out what's going to happen. How did the Strato Viper get the one up on Ace, who's supposed to be, well, the G.I. Joe Ace pilot? And what's going to happen? He's parachuting. Of course, in the cartoon, there was always a very convenient lake or body of water in the area where they would fall into. But what's going to happen in the comic book? 6, you've got Outback doing trying to hide from what seems to be a group of soldiers there that are neither Cobra or the October Guard, just another army. But he made a poor choice in wearing short sleeves, but that was the Outback look. He had the survival written across his white shirt, but should have gone for long sleeves and maybe a parka if he was going to be out in the snow. But kind of cool. Love this. Again, if you see this on the shelf, you want to know what's going to happen. Issue 7, you've got Chuckles and Lady J, and by this point, it's 1987, and they've introduced that second wave of G.I. Joes. You've got Sergeant Slaughter that's now come in, Chuckles, Tunnelrat, Falcon, Law and Order, Jinx, and in this case, we get to see Chuckles, one of the new additions, with Lady J, who's been introduced now in these cool flyers, trying to break into this sort of Cobra building. And if I remember right, they plant a listening device in this issue in Cobra's palace there, and that's found in the regular series in issue 79. So you had this kind of crossover between the two where this would be a special mission and you get the payoff in the regular series. All right, issue 8, cool cover here. You've got, again, talk about that second wave of Joe's, Lowlight, Leatherneck, I think that's Lift Ticket, and Beachhead shooting at those soldiers. Lowlight trying to get on the helicopter, and you've got really just good exaggerated faces. It says AZ, I'm not sure who that is, but feels like that Mike Zeck McFarlane type face, very expressive. Issue 9, Dave Cockrum is the artist on the cover here of X-Men fame, and just cool. I mean, the composition is great. It has that feeling of Rambo 3, if you've seen that movie, with the helicopter and Sylvester Stallone facing down that Soviet helicopter, but can't really tell who these characters are. Feels like this is a bit of a kind of drop in the ball because I want to see who these characters are. Is that supposed to be Dusty? Are these even G.I. Joes? What's going on here? But composition is cool. 10, I think that's Roadblock, Chuckles, and some sort of Egyptian prince that they end up meeting along the way, if I remember right. It's an okay cover. I think the most interesting thing is the color choices, the fact that it's very interesting because you've got the characters in blue and this pink spotlight around them. Kind of neat. It definitely sticks out. Issue 11, if I had to guess, that's probably Scarlet being held hostage. That is something that was a common theme in special missions where G.I. Joes were brought in to basically take care of different hostage situations. Issue 12, this is a Herb Trippy cover. Got Firefly, who ends up stealing the G.I. Joes. I think it's from Battle Force 2000, the Vector Jet. And meanwhile, you've got one of the Joes who's partnered up with a airplane pilot, old school airplane pilot, and they've taken a biplane. And the idea is that, because of their skill and the ingenuity, G.I. Joe can even best Cobra, even if they stole G.I. Joe's own equipment. Feels more like a cartoon episode plot, right? 13, got Dusty, Outback. Not sure who these guys are. Probably from, again, Battle Force 2000. Excuse to introduce a few more toys into the shelves. Cool composition. I mean, the fact that the sun is done in a very graphic way with these lights, these kind of just goes out. I don't know, just very interesting, but kind of cool. Love this one. 14, gotta love fan favorite Snake Eyes on the cover, seemingly in some sort of snow, maybe even on Mongolia. Got Scarlet there, and they're running down a hill, and you could just tell that whatever they're going after, they're gonna have hell to pay because Snake Eyes with the sword out, he's gonna kick some ass. 15, love this one here. The cover on this one is really neat. I think it's Ron Wagner. I just like the composition here. Seems like same design from the characters in the previous cover, but just kind of cool. Snake Eyes doing a little stealth mission there, and I like the full moon there, kind of highlighting the character. Really neat, and just the way the eyes are done. Nice. 16, kind of a meh cover. Not really sure. I think that's Maverick, probably flying one of the newer planes. Looks like it even could be a Sky Striker, but Cover's lame. 17, we've got Stalker, and looks like Muskrat. And again, I think this is another hostage situation issue where they're throwing a gas canister to come in. Kind of neat. I like the composition. I like the fact that it's blue. They did a really good job on these covers of not, again, adding too much distracting elements to the background. Easy to read, very bold color choices. If you saw this on the newsstand, easy to buy. Kind of interesting, though, that the Marvel is missing from the corner box there. All right, issue 18. Cool cover by Ron Wagner. Again, favorite, Snake Eyes. I love the color treatment here with the foreground characters. Really good rendering, the boots. There's even seems to be like a color hold on some of them to not be pure black, but a little purple. But I love the yellow that's kind of putting it all together. Interesting, the hashing in the background to really denote it. Could have been all black, maybe too bold of a move for a cover at the time, but just really neat. But I do love the way Ron Wagner does the water and everything, just really cool. Issue 19, Andy Kubert on the cover chores here. Looks like it's Muskrat, could be helicopter, can't really tell. It looks like those are blades there, and he's shooting at someone who I have to presume has to be Cobra. Doesn't look like a Cobra character. Not the best cover here, but it's Andy Kubert, so the rendering is amazing. Love the faces, very much like his father, Joe Kubert. Between the brushwork, the line work, the composition, the faces. Nice that they were able to get Andy Kubert on some of these G.I. Joe and G.I. Joe Special Mission covers. Issue 20, Snow Job. Now this one I do like. I mean, there's a little bit of humor here. You've got the Cobra Snow Trooper reacting to the fact that Snow Job is just going right across them. I mean, there's, Snow Job's hood has kind of flown off because of the momentum as he's seemingly going downhill. Just kind of neat, kind of a fun cover. Issue 21, got Tunnel Rat, Airtight, who is not featured nearly as much in these issues. He's that cool look, just like Barbecue, and I really liked his character in the cartoon. Whoever was the voice actor just had a little bit of haughtiness, kind of felt like he was a scientist that, was more concerned with science and chemistry and his specialty than what G.I. Joe was doing or even what Cobra was doing, but kind of neat. And just his design is really cool. Issue 22, Shockwave. He was one of those Joes that, in that second wave, one of the figures that I just had to get because he had that cool look. Kind of reminded me a bit of a Beachhead with that sort of balaclava thing that they had, except, he had to top it off by throwing on a baseball cap, but he had a cool gun. And I wanted that figure. The blue, the purple was a little bit more, a little bit more bold and not nearly, not necessarily the best urban camouflage for a SWAT team guy. But again, another issue where you have a hostage situation, Shockwave thrown in. Issue 23, Herb Trippy cover. Pretty sure that's Scoop, who was kind of like the, battlefield journalist for G.I. Joe. You got Stalker and Tunnel Rat. Love the composition. Love the fact that there's these blades that Trippy put in the foreground just to make you feel like they're in the foliage, and they are trying to get some footage or do some sort of reconnaissance. And of course, Scoop with the camera there. Just looks really neat. And again, not distracting it with the background. Just keep it black. It's nighttime. Good color choices. Could cover. 24, you got Cobra Commander in the battle armor there, and I'm pretty sure that has to be Jinx. Dave Cockrum on the cover, chores again. It's okay. I mean, it's nice. It's okay. Kind of interesting, though, that maybe the original version, after however many years it's been now, 20 plus years, maybe she was more red, and this was more red, but definitely has more of an orangey feel to it. And Jinx was certainly red. Okay, wow. I mean, come on, look at this. Andy Kubert cover, he's back. This is the introduction of Tiger Force, which is a special unit for G.I. Joe that specialized in jungle warfare. But, I mean, come on, you've got a pterodactyl on the cover. At least that's what it seems. Things are not what they seem. They are not fighting prehistoric creatures. They're just in a museum. But if, reason going over some of these, as an artist, this is a great way to render a cover because there's a lot of interest. You just want to know what's going to happen. You've been reading G.I. Joe for all these issues. They're fighting Cobra, but you have to wonder, why is there a pterodactyl, a dinosaur on this cover? I got to find out. I got to lay down the dollar to figure out what's going on. And just great cover by Kubert. Good design. Love it. Wow. One of my favorites. 26. Kubert's back. And talk about ominous. Got the October Guard here. Again, the Soviet version of G.I. Joe. You've got G.I. Joes on the other side over here. And as they seem to be in some sort of weight being held by death. So, you know, it's very ominous. The stakes are high. Kind of cool. 27, another Kubert cover. And this is, I'm pretty sure it's Quick Kick on the cover. I think him and Rock and Roll and somebody else are on they're on a tour. They're basically on vacation. And all of a sudden, Cobra attacks because, you know, of course. But really interesting cover design here. I love the pink. Love the action. The brushwork and everything is really interesting. You know, even the breaking of the glass here, just perfect Kubert brushwork. But Quick Kick, I don't think has ever looked so good. I mean, he looks a little bit weathered, a little bit rougher on the edges, and the fact that he's shooting away off screen with the Uzi. I mean, this is what you got in the comics. Something that was not at all like you saw in the cartoon. All right, last issue of Special Missions issue, Special Missions issue 28. Kind of a, I don't know, underwhelming cover for what would be the series finale for Special Missions. Kubert on the cover. I think that's one of the Battle Force 2000 jets. Kind of you know. I think the one thing that's kind of interesting about this one, to kind of go beyond the cover, is the last issue has kind of a goodbye page. And you've got Duke, characters there, Wild Bill, Scarlet, and they're all just kind of waving. Looks like they're working on what seems to be the new G.I. Joe space shuttle, the Defiant, and Duke just yelling out, "It's been a great 28 issues, but it's finally time to retire this particular chronicle of our adventures. Follow us in the regular G.I. Joe comic book every month from Marvel." So the regular series goes through 155 issues. This would have probably been around 1989 that this issue was released. But again, when you're going through these, it's just kind of fun to look at some of these because the tone was so different. The artwork is so neat, has that feeling of very much like 80s Marvel comics. But yeah, G.I. Joe Special Missions. Love these. If you get a chance to find some of these in a discount bin or something, don't be afraid to pick them up. You know, some of them in the end here go for a little bit more because the print runs were kind of smaller and harder to find. I'm going to guess that's because it probably wasn't as successful. And at the time you have Marvel doing a lot of things, might have been like Secret Wars, a lot of comics. You're starting to get into about to go into the 90s, but at least for these 28 issues, just kind of neat. So thanks for checking out the video, and Yo Joe.